Hello, people. I hope you guys are doing well. Before we start, please take a moment to like our video and subscribe to our channel if you want us to make more videos like this. Also, don't forget to let us know where you guys are listening from. Okay then, let's get started. What if Batman, the Dark Knight, the vigilante who has haunted Gotham for decades, is not just a lone crusader driven by tragedy, but a descendant of a long-lost Gotham dynasty? A family so powerful, so intertwined with the city's history, that their influence still runs deep in Gotham's veins, even if no one knows it. Imagine for a moment that Bruce Wayne, the orphan son of Thomas and Martha Wayne, is not just the last heir to the Wayne legacy, but the latest in a long line of hidden rulers of Gotham. What if the Wayne family was merely the tip of the iceberg, and beneath that surface was a secret lineage, a family so influential and shadowed in mystery that even Bruce himself has no idea of the true origins of his bloodline? It's hard to picture, right? We know Bruce as the son of Thomas Wayne, a well-respected philanthropist and businessman murdered in a dark alley on a night that forever changed the course of Gotham's history. We know the Wayne family as Gotham's version of royalty, but what if their wealth and prominence were the result of generations of quiet power? And what if the true force behind their legacy was buried beneath layers of secrecy? A legacy that could, in fact, go back centuries, a dynasty so old that its roots are entangled with Gotham itself. This mystery runs deeper than any of Gotham's known families, whose names are whispered in every corner of the city, and whose lives are marked by untold histories. In the dusty, forgotten halls of Gotham's earliest estates, there may lie records that tell the story of a family that ruled from the shadows. A family with ties to the city's creation, perhaps its founding, who worked in the dark recesses of Gotham's politics, shaping the city from the very beginning. And what if, over time, these forebears of Bruce Wayne were forced to retreat from the spotlight, to hide their power, to erase their traces from the history books? Perhaps the Wayne family, with their polished public image, was the cover for a much larger and much more secretive lineage that carried a powerful, though dormant, influence over the entire city. But why keep such a powerful secret? Why would the true legacy of Gotham's rulers be hidden from the world, even from Bruce himself? It's easy to assume that it was out of necessity, to avoid persecution, or perhaps to evade enemies that sought to control or destroy them. Over the years, the Wayne family has maintained an image of being philanthropists and protectors, always standing in front of the public as a symbol of charity, goodwill, and justice. But what if the Waynes' true role in Gotham's history was not to shine a light on the city's darkness, but to keep the power flowing in the right hands, to maintain a legacy of influence and control, a legacy that had been buried beneath layers of history and deception? It would be easy to dismiss this as a mere theory, an urban legend created by Gotham's conspiracy-minded residents. But what if there's something more to it? What if Bruce's parents weren't just murdered by a random criminal on a fateful night, but were targeted because they were part of something larger, something much more dangerous? What if Thomas and Martha Wayne knew more than they let on? What if their death was not just a random act of violence, but the culmination of a conspiracy that is stretched through generations? What if their deaths were part of a larger design, one that was meant to either eliminate Bruce from the picture or force him into a destiny he had yet to understand? The clues have always been there, if you know where to look. Consider Gotham itself, a city that has been defined by its wealth, its power, and its deep-rooted corruption. From the earliest days of Gotham's founding, the city has been built on the backs of the powerful families who shaped its destiny. The Cobblepots, the Elliots, the Dents, all names that have long had their grip on the city's underbelly. But buried beneath these familiar names is a deeper truth. The true dynasties of Gotham have always been hidden in the shadows, working behind the scenes, influencing events, and shaping the course of the city's history. And Bruce Wayne, as the last living heir to the Wayne name, may just be the latest pawn in a much larger game, one that has been played for centuries. Now let's think about Bruce's training, his preparation for becoming Batman. Why was he so meticulous, so driven, and yet always haunted by the sense that something was missing? His transformation from a grieving child into a hardened vigilante seems like the result of a singular purpose to avenge his parents' death. But what if that mission was never just about vengeance? What if Bruce's drive was part of something much larger, an inherited responsibility that he couldn't fully comprehend until he began to uncover the mysteries of his own family history? What if the training, the resources, and the mysterious mentors that guided him along the way weren't just part of his quest for justice, but part of a long-held family duty, a duty that had been passed down through generations? Consider the legacy of the Batcave. Hidden beneath Wayne Manor, the Batcave is a sanctuary of both technology and history, but what if it's more than just a place for Batman to work? What if the Batcave, with its labyrinthine passages and centuries-old artifacts, is not just Bruce's personal headquarters, but a repository of knowledge? Knowledge that has been passed down through the generations of Gotham's hidden dynasty. Perhaps Bruce never understood the full scope of what his family was involved in, but the Batcave may hold the keys to unlocking the truth. What if the cave itself was built not just for the Wayne family, but as a safe house for a lineage long forgotten, a secret library of power that has been waiting for its rightful heir to awaken? Bruce's journey then becomes a quest not just for justice, but for identity. As Batman, he uncovers the city's darkest secrets. But what if the true secret he's hunting is his own? Could it be that Bruce's role as Gotham's protector was always part of a larger family duty, one that he didn't even realize? Could it be that the bat, a symbol of fear, was never just a tool for justice, but a marker of an ancient legacy, a legacy that stretches back to the earliest days of Gotham itself? As we delve further into this theory, the mystery surrounding Batman's true lineage begins to unravel in layers, each discovery pointing toward a more intricate and ancient truth. What if Bruce Wayne's journey into becoming the Dark Knight was not just born of personal tragedy, but was the fulfillment of a hidden family legacy, one that spans centuries? Gotham itself, with its corruption and its decay, was perhaps always meant to be this way, shaped by those who sought to control its destiny, pulling strings from the shadows. If Batman is truly a descendant of a long-lost Gotham dynasty, then what does that mean for his identity? The Wayne family is often viewed by the public as a symbol of philanthropy, as protectors of the weak and champions of justice. But could this image be merely a facade, a cover for a much darker, deeper truth? Behind the facade of the Wayne legacy, there could be secrets, not just about Gotham's elite, but about the very fabric of the city itself. The Wayne family may have played a central role in Gotham's formation, shaping it into the powerful, corrupt entity it has become, only to retreat into the shadows as the city evolved into the chaotic metropolis we see today. The question becomes, what role did the Waynes, as part of this dynasty, play in Gotham's history? If Bruce's lineage traces back to the very beginnings of Gotham, it is likely that his family was once involved in the city's creation in ways no one could have imagined. Perhaps the Waynes were among the city's founders, working alongside other influential families to build Gotham as we know it. These founding figures, perhaps less well known than the prominent families who came after them, could have laid the foundation for the city's complex political and social systems that were ultimately corrupted by those who followed in their footsteps. The Waynes may have once been at the top of Gotham's social hierarchy, holding immense power over the city's direction. But what if, over time, the family began to realize that their power was ultimately tied to maintaining the city's corruption? What if they retreated into secrecy, no longer content with ruling overtly, but choosing instead to operate in the shadows, manipulating events from behind the scenes, keeping their influence hidden, even from their own heir? Bruce Wayne's own history would then take on a whole new significance. His journey to becoming Batman, his years of training, the intense preparation, and the sacrifices he made were not just about avenging the murder of his parents. What if, instead, his transformation was a culmination of his family's hidden history, a path that had been mapped out long before the fateful night his parents were murdered? The murder of Thomas and Martha Wayne could have been more than just a random act of violence. It could have been the final push, the catalyst that forced Bruce to take up the mantle of the Bat. His parents, although outwardly philanthropic, may have been key figures in a dynasty whose legacy was tied to maintaining control over Gotham through subtle means, and their deaths, a consequence of their secret involvement in the city's hidden powers. The realization that his parents were perhaps not just innocents but active participants in the system Bruce despised could be a bitter truth he must eventually confront. The Batcave itself, as a symbol of Batman's hidden life, could also hold more clues. As Bruce delves deeper into his family's legacy, the Batcave may become the key to unlocking the truth about Gotham's dynasty. This cavernous, ancient hideaway beneath Wayne Manor is filled with not just technology, but with the echoes of the past. Perhaps the Batcave was originally designed to serve as a sanctuary for Bruce's family, a place where they could safely store their secrets and hide their true power. Over the years, the cave transformed into Batman's lair, a symbol of his mission to save Gotham. But what if its true purpose was to safeguard a legacy of power and control, hidden away from the world? What if Bruce's mission as Batman was not just about saving Gotham, but about reclaiming a lost dynasty, a family legacy he never knew he was destined to inherit? As Bruce uncovers more about his family's history, he may begin to question everything he has believed about himself. The Wayne family's original role in Gotham's formation could reveal a more sinister aspect of their legacy, a legacy of controlling the city's darkest secrets. If Bruce is truly a descendant of a long-lost Gotham dynasty, what does that mean for his role in the city's future? Is he, in fact, the heir to a powerful family that built Gotham on the foundations of secrecy, manipulation, and control? Or has he been merely a pawn in a game played by those who came before him, a player in a much larger design that he has yet to understand? The implications of this theory extend far beyond Bruce's personal identity. If Batman is truly a product of this long-lost dynasty, then his existence is a reflection of Gotham itself, a city built on secrets, on power, held in the shadows. Batman's war on crime, his battle against corruption, could be seen as the final act of a family trying to atone for the sins of its past. But in doing so, Bruce may unwittingly perpetuate the very cycle of control and power that his ancestors once created. His fight for justice, his desire to rid Gotham of its corruption, could be more complicated than he realizes, a battle against the dark legacy of his own family. In the end, Bruce must confront the truth of his own heritage. Is he fighting for justice, or is he continuing a legacy that has been passed down through generations, a legacy of control, power, and influence over Gotham? The dark secrets of the Wayne family may hold the key to understanding not just Gotham's history, but the future of the city. If Bruce truly is the heir to a long-lost Gotham dynasty, he will have to choose. Will he accept his family's legacy and wield its power, or will he break free from it, choosing a path that leads to a Gotham where he is not defined by the sins of the past, but by his own choices? As Bruce Wayne grapples with the revelation of his family's hidden legacy, the walls that once separated his mission as Batman from his personal identity begin to crumble. He has spent so many years focused on justice, on avenging his parents' death and ridding Gotham of its crime, that the truth about his heritage may seem like an insurmountable obstacle. But what if his true battle is not just against Gotham's criminals, but against the weight of a bloodline that has shaped the city's very foundation? The Wayne family may have been the stewards of Gotham's future, its protectors, but also its silent architects of control. Could Batman's war on crime be part of a deeper, more complicated narrative, one that ties his family's influence to the city's corruption? The more Bruce delves into his family's history, the more he uncovers a series of shocking secrets that suggest his parents weren't just victims of a senseless murder, but were themselves part of a long-standing lineage that maintained power through subtle manipulation, wealth, and influence. Thomas Wayne, a respected businessman and philanthropist, may not have been entirely the altruistic figure Bruce remembers. What if Thomas was merely a front, a carefully crafted persona meant to shield a far more complex and secretive involvement in Gotham's power structures? What if his parents, in their efforts to bring justice to Gotham, were in fact preserving the city's status quo, using their influence to ensure that the criminal underworld was kept in check, while the elite maintained control? The Batcave, a place where Bruce has honed his skills as Gotham's protector, could hold the key to uncovering these secrets. The cave, hidden beneath Wayne Manor, was not just a sanctuary for Bruce as a child or a lair for his nocturnal operations. It was built by his ancestors, a refuge for the rulers of Gotham who worked in the shadows, ensuring their control remained unchallenged. What if, buried deep within the cave's labyrinthine passages, there are records, journals, and ancient documents that reveal the true nature of the Wayne dynasty? The family's legacy, concealed in these forgotten texts, may show that the Waynes were not just fighters of crime, but the overseers of a much darker, more intricate system of power. It was their job to protect Gotham from the forces that sought to tear it apart. But in doing so, they became part of the system of control that Bruce now fights against. As Bruce uncovers more of his family's true history, he may begin to question everything he's ever known about Gotham and himself. The moral lines he has drawn between good and evil begin to blur. He has spent his entire life fighting criminals, but what if the real battle was always within Gotham's elite circles, where the true manipulators of the city's fate have quietly held the reins? Bruce's fight against crime is a noble one, but as he unearths the truth about his lineage, he must confront the possibility that his crusade is not as black and white as he thought. The very forces he seeks to dismantle could be linked to his own bloodline. Could Batman's war on crime be part of a larger, unintended legacy of control, one that Bruce himself never realized he was destined to inherit? This realization would shake Bruce to his core. How could he continue to fight for Gotham's justice, while also coming to terms with the fact that his family's legacy is steeped in the very corruption he seeks to eliminate? The discovery that his ancestors were not just innocent philanthropists, but part of a dynasty that shaped Gotham's power structures would cause a deep internal conflict. Bruce would be faced with an agonizing choice to embrace his family's legacy and potentially take up the mantle of their hidden power, or to reject it entirely, forsaking the influence and wealth that come with it, and forging his own path as Gotham's protector. What if Bruce's mission as Batman wasn't just about saving Gotham, but about a personal struggle to separate himself from the legacy of control and power his family represents? What if he is torn between his desire for justice and the weight of the destiny that has been thrust upon him? His journey would no longer be about merely confronting the criminals of Gotham, but about confronting his own identity and the choices that lie before him. Does he continue the fight, using the resources and power at his disposal, or does he dismantle the Wayne dynasty, taking down the very institution that enabled Gotham's corruption? The Batcave itself could be a place where Bruce makes this ultimate decision. With each passing day, as he unravels more about his family's hidden history, Bruce begins to understand that Gotham's true battle is not between the forces of good and evil, but between the forces of control and freedom. The Wayne family, though seemingly benevolent, may have been the very architects of the system that enabled Gotham's perpetuation of crime and corruption. Bruce's role as Batman has always been to stand against the darkness, but now he must decide if he will continue the fight in the same way, or if he will break free from his family's shadow and chart a new course for Gotham. A Gotham where justice is not built on the foundation of power and influence, but on true, untainted principles. As Bruce confronts the truth of his lineage, the city of Gotham itself must also grapple with its own identity. A city built on centuries of secrets, corruption, and manipulation cannot easily shed its past. If Batman is indeed the heir to a long-lost Gotham dynasty, then Gotham's future may be as bound to its history as Bruce's own fate. Gotham cannot change until Bruce does, and the battle to break free from the chains of his family's legacy will be the defining challenge of his life. Gotham's fate, and Bruce's own, may hinge on whether he chooses to embrace the power that comes with his family's dynasty, or whether he chooses to forsake it entirely and become something greater than his lineage. The question now is, can Bruce Wayne, as Batman, ever escape the shadow of his ancestors? Or will he be doomed to repeat the same cycle of control and power that has defined his family and Gotham for centuries? As Bruce Wayne confronts the weight of his family's hidden legacy, his inner conflict deepens. For years he has believed his fight for Gotham was driven by the tragedy of his parents' death and the desire to rid the city of crime. But what if he was wrong? What if his true purpose, the reason he was destined to become Batman, was always connected to his bloodline, to a power far older than his father's philanthropic legacy? The more Bruce uncovers about the Wayne family's secret past, the more he begins to question not just his identity but the very foundation of Gotham itself. The history of Gotham, intricately tied to the Wayne family, begins to reveal itself as something far darker and more complex than he could have ever imagined. Gotham, the city he swore to protect, may not just be a place ravaged by crime and corruption, but a place built on a legacy of power, manipulation, and control. A city where those who ruled from the shadows shaped its destiny for centuries. Bruce's ancestors, far from being mere philanthropists or businessmen, were likely the unseen architects of Gotham's power structure, guiding the city's fate through covert influence. His family's involvement in the creation of Gotham, perhaps in its very founding, suggests a dynasty that maintained order by controlling the powerful, the corrupt, and even the criminals. The Waynes, then, were not simply a family of rich socialites. They were stewards of the city's dark legacy, working behind the scenes to maintain the status quo. The Batcave, once a sanctuary for Bruce's war on crime, now becomes a labyrinth of clues leading him deeper into the heart of Gotham's past. Its cryptic passages and ancient artifacts could hold the answers to questions Bruce has never thought to ask. What if the cave itself, this hidden sanctuary beneath Wayne Manor, was built not just as a secret lair for Batman, but as a hidden vault for the family's legacy? What if within its depths are journals, records, or even hidden chambers that reveal the full extent of the Wayne family's control over the city? The cave, once a symbol of his transformation into Batman, could hold the keys to understanding why Gotham was always doomed to suffer, and whether Bruce is destined to break free of his family's shadow, or whether he will inherit it, unknowingly, as part of his eternal struggle. Each clue that Bruce uncovers pulls him further into a web of secrecy that he cannot easily escape. His desire for justice, his fight against corruption now seem futile when measured against the larger forces at play. He thought he was fighting for Gotham's soul, but what if Gotham's soul has always been tainted by his family's influence? What if, instead of saving the city, he has been unwittingly maintaining a system of control that perpetuates its suffering? The more Bruce discovers, the more the lines blur between hero and villain, between justice and power. Can the city ever truly be saved if the very people who shaped it have been controlling its fate for centuries? Bruce's family, once seen as the embodiment of Gotham's redemption, may have been key players in perpetuating the city's dysfunction. The Wayne family's wealth and influence were not just built on legitimate business ventures, but on the manipulation of the city's underworld, its politics, and its public image. The death of Thomas and Martha Wayne, Bruce's parents, could have been part of a larger scheme, a calculated move to remove them from power, forcing their son into a role he may never have chosen for himself. Thomas Wayne, despite his public image as a benevolent figure, may have been involved in something far more complex and morally ambiguous than Bruce could ever have imagined. As Bruce continues his investigation, he realizes that the deeper he digs into his family's past, the more the truth eludes him. Gotham's dark history, woven into the very fabric of the city, is not something easily understood or dismantled. Bruce's role as Batman, the city's protector, has always been to fight against the darkness. But what if that darkness is inescapable? What if Gotham's fate is tied to the bloodline that created it? Can Bruce, the last living heir to this forgotten dynasty, truly break free from the chains of his ancestry? Or is he forever bound to repeat the mistakes of those who came before him? In this newfound awareness, Bruce faces an agonizing choice. Does he continue his crusade as Batman, using the resources and power he has inherited, or does he dismantle the very legacy that shaped him? The Batcave, once his sanctuary, now stands as a symbol of the very power and influence his family once wielded over Gotham. Bruce must decide if he will embrace this power and the responsibility that comes with it, or if he will reject his family's legacy entirely, even if it means destroying the very foundation of his own identity. For Gotham, Bruce's decision will have profound consequences. If Batman is the heir to a long-lost Gotham dynasty, then his choices will determine the future of the city itself. Will Gotham continue to live under the shadow of the Waynes, forever tied to a legacy of secrecy and control? Or will Bruce forge a new path, one that breaks the cycle of power and corruption that has defined the city for centuries? The battle is not just for Gotham's future, but for Bruce's own soul, the struggle to break free from the weight of his family's past and to determine whether he can truly be the force of change the city so desperately needs. The key to understanding Gotham's future lies in Bruce's ability to accept, reject, or reshape his family's legacy. In doing so, he may find the answer to the ultimate question: can Gotham ever be saved? And if so, what will it take to finally break the chains that bind the city to its dark history? Batman's true battle may not be against the criminals who plague the streets, but against the very legacy of power and control that has shaped Gotham and his own destiny for generations. As Bruce Wayne uncovers more of his family's tangled legacy, the enormity of the truth weighs heavily on him. The realization that he is not just the son of Thomas and Martha Wayne, the well-respected philanthropists, but rather the heir to a long-lost Gotham dynasty, throws his entire existence into disarray. He thought he was fighting for Gotham's soul, driven by the loss of his parents and the mission to rid the city of its deep-rooted corruption. Yet, as he uncovers more about the true role his family played in shaping Gotham, Bruce begins to question everything: his motivations, his actions, and his very identity. Gotham, a city built on the foundation of secrecy, manipulation, and control, has been shaped by the hidden hand of powerful families who have operated from the shadows. The Wayne family was no exception. Bruce's ancestors were not just wealthy, influential figures, but were likely instrumental in shaping the city's power structures, maintaining an unspoken dominance over the city's political, economic, and criminal sectors. While outwardly they may have presented themselves as benevolent leaders, their true legacy was one of subtle influence and quiet manipulation. They kept Gotham's wheels turning, ensuring that the status quo remained intact while protecting their own interests. Their control was quiet, almost imperceptible, but it was pervasive. Bruce's revelation leads him to a chilling realization: his mission as Batman, which he has dedicated his entire life to, may be rooted in a lie. He has spent countless nights battling criminals, exposing corruption, and seeking justice, all the while unaware that the very system he seeks to dismantle was built, in part, by his own family. The Waynes were not just innocent victims of Gotham's decay, they were central to the city's very creation and perpetuation. The Batcave, once his sacred space of solitude and purpose, now feels like a prison. What was once a symbol of his fight against Gotham's darkness has transformed into a monument to the secrets that have defined his life. How can Bruce continue his crusade when he now knows that his family played such a significant role in the city's downfall? This internal conflict begins to seep into every aspect of Bruce's life, both as Wayne and as Batman. His encounters with Gotham's criminals, who once seemed like the clear antagonists in his story, now take on a new dimension. Figures like the Penguin, the Riddler, and the Joker, who have always operated on the fringe of Gotham's power, now seem like mere pawns in a larger game. These criminals, along with Gotham's corrupt politicians and business leaders, were all products of a system that Bruce's family helped create and sustain. The more he reflects, the more Bruce begins to see that his war on crime may have been one-sided. He has fought against the visible manifestations of Gotham's corruption, but the deeper, more insidious powers that run the city, the ones operating from the shadows, have always been untouched. Bruce's struggle now becomes not just physical but philosophical. As he uncovers the extent of his family's influence, he is forced to question his own morality and the very nature of justice. If Gotham's corruption runs as deep as he now believes, can one man, even Batman, truly dismantle it? And if Gotham's fate is so intertwined with his family's legacy, does Bruce have the right to take it down? The power he once fought so fiercely to destroy is now part of him, part of his inheritance. Does he embrace this legacy, becoming the ruler of Gotham in the way his ancestors once did, or does he reject it entirely, condemning everything his family built, even if it means losing everything he has worked for? As Bruce delves deeper into his family's past, he begins to see that the Wayne legacy is far more complex than he ever imagined. His parents, Thomas and Martha, were not just philanthropists. They were protectors of a hidden dynasty, guardians of Gotham's old order. The murder of his parents, long thought to be a senseless act of violence, now seems like something much more calculated. What if their deaths were not just the result of a random robbery, but the consequence of their involvement in a larger scheme? What if Bruce's parents were targeted because of their knowledge of the darker elements of Gotham's power, because they were protecting a secret that could threaten the very foundation of the city? Bruce's investigation into his family's history uncovers a shocking truth. The Waynes were part of a council of powerful families who shaped Gotham's destiny. These families, their legacies intertwined for centuries, maintained control over the city's resources, businesses, and criminal organizations. They were not just players in Gotham's history, they were the architects of it. But as Gotham's power structures grew more entrenched, the need for secrecy grew stronger. The council's members began to retreat from the public eye, leaving their legacy in the hands of their heirs, the families who would continue their work in the shadows. The Waynes, for all their apparent goodwill, were part of this system, working alongside Gotham's elite to maintain order, ensuring that Gotham's darkest elements remained under control. Bruce's ancestors, though seemingly benevolent, were not immune to the corrupting influence of power. The very systems that Bruce has fought against as Batman were systems built by his own bloodline, the Batcave, filled with the tools and technology that Bruce has used in his war against crime, now feels like a symbol of the family's control, a prison of knowledge that keeps him tied to the past. As Bruce uncovers the truth about his family, he begins to realize that his entire mission as Batman was never just about fighting crime, but about continuing a legacy that he never fully understood. This realization is devastating for Bruce. The man he has become, the crusader for justice, is now faced with the terrible truth that his existence is bound to the very system he has sought to dismantle. How can he reconcile the man he has become with the dark legacy of the family that created Gotham's corruption? Can he ever truly be free of his family's influence, or is he destined to continue the fight for justice as a way of honoring a legacy that may never have been about justice at all? As the pieces of his family's history fall into place, Bruce faces an impossible choice: to embrace the power of his lineage, to take control of Gotham and reshape it in his own image, or to destroy the very foundation his family built, rejecting everything he has known in order to free Gotham from its past. The battle within Bruce becomes a battle for Gotham's soul, as he must decide whether he will be a continuation of his family's dark legacy, or whether he will break free and forge a new path, not just for himself, but for the city he has sworn to protect. The mystery of Batman's true lineage, then, becomes more than just a family secret. It is the key to understanding Gotham itself. The city, with all its darkness, corruption, and complexity, is a reflection of Bruce's own internal struggle. Can Gotham ever truly be free, or will its past always define its future? And if Bruce Wayne as Batman is the last heir to this lost Gotham dynasty, can he ever escape the shadows of his family's influence, or will he be forever bound to the legacy of power that has defined Gotham for centuries? As Bruce Wayne grapples with the discovery of his family's true legacy, the weight of history bears down on him, and the path forward becomes increasingly unclear. Gotham itself, a city shaped by power, control, and corruption, is no longer just a battleground for justice, but a reflection of Bruce's internal struggle. The more he uncovers about his family's role in Gotham's formation and its subsequent decline, the more he begins to question the very foundation of his mission. Was his war against Gotham's criminality truly one of justice, or was he fighting against his own inheritance? The lines between hero and villain, good and evil, are no longer as clear as they once seemed. Bruce's legacy, tied to Gotham's past, becomes his greatest adversary. As a descendant of a long-lost dynasty that helped shape the city, Bruce begins to see the uncomfortable truth that his fight against crime, corruption, and injustice may be an extension of his family's dark influence rather than a rebellion against it. The Wayne family, revered for their philanthropy and seemingly noble legacy, may have built Gotham's institutions that, over time, became deeply embedded with corruption, manipulation, and control. The family's attempt to maintain power in a city teetering on the edge of anarchy created a hidden order, a shadow structure of governance that Bruce, unknowingly, has spent his entire life fighting against. As Bruce learns more about the Wayne family's role in Gotham's history, the revelation that his ancestors were not just involved in maintaining order, but actively shaping the criminal underworld sends him into a spiral of self-doubt. His parents, who he believed to be symbols of hope and righteousness, were complicit in a system that allowed Gotham's most influential families to retain their hold on power. His father, Thomas Wayne, once seen as a beacon of morality, may have been part of a broader dynasty that ruled Gotham from behind the scenes, ensuring that no one, not even the criminal elite, could rise above the power structure his family had helped create. In a tragic irony, Bruce's fight against Gotham's corruption becomes a fight against the very legacy that created it. The Batcave, once a refuge, now seems like a prison. It is filled with the artifacts of Bruce's lineage, the hidden knowledge of a family whose influence on Gotham is far more insidious than he ever imagined. As Bruce uncovers more about his ancestors, he begins to realize that the Batcave was never just a tool for him to fight crime. It was a repository of knowledge, a vault of power, and a symbol of his family's dominance. The hidden rooms, the ancient documents, the maps of Gotham all point to a legacy of control. Bruce's mission as Batman to expose Gotham's criminals was never just about protecting the innocent. It was a continuation of his family's hidden agenda. This realization shakes him to his core. If his family's hands were tied to Gotham's corruption, does that mean he's merely a puppet in a much larger game, fighting against the very forces his ancestors set into motion? Bruce's moral compass becomes more fractured as he uncovers this truth. The battle between justice and vengeance that has defined his life takes on a new meaning. Is he truly avenging his parents' deaths? Or is he fulfilling a role that was set out for him by a family whose power and influence were built on the exploitation of Gotham's dark underbelly? The desire to destroy Gotham's criminal empire, the same empire his ancestors helped create, now feels like a futile pursuit. How can he fight for Gotham's future when the city's fate is so intricately tied to his family's past? In his isolation, Bruce contemplates what he has become. As Batman, he has fought tirelessly against Gotham's criminals, but now the lines between good and evil blur. His fight for justice becomes less about avenging his parents and more about reconciling with the shadows of his lineage. Can he break free from the constraints of his family's legacy, or is he doomed to follow in their footsteps, even unknowingly? The bat symbol, which has long represented Gotham's protector, now feels like a chain around his neck, a constant reminder of his family's involvement in the city's power struggle. The emotional and psychological toll is immense. Bruce no longer knows who he is. The Batman persona, which he thought was an act of rebellion, now seems like the result of a destiny he never chose. Was his crusade for justice merely a continuation of his family's control over Gotham, a power struggle between the Wayne family's past and Gotham's future? Can Bruce, the man who became Batman, truly free himself from the legacy of his ancestors, or is he forever bound to it? The relationships Bruce has with those closest to him, like Alfred, Jim Gordon, and even his most trusted allies in the Justice League, begin to shift. They see the growing turmoil within him, but they do not fully understand the weight of his discoveries. Alfred, the loyal butler, who has been with Bruce since his childhood, becomes an even more pivotal figure in his life. Alfred, who has always known more about Bruce's parents than he let on, may hold secrets of his own. Did he know about the true nature of the Wayne family's legacy? Has he been silently guiding Bruce not just as a protector, but as a keeper of the family's hidden history? Alfred's role as Bruce's moral compass is now questioned. Can Alfred truly be the voice of reason when he too was complicit in hiding Bruce's family's secrets? Jim Gordon, who has been a steadfast ally in Bruce's mission to clean up Gotham, now finds himself caught between his loyalty to Batman and his understanding of the city's grim realities. The truth about the Wayne family's involvement in Gotham's power structure challenges the very foundation of Gordon's own fight against corruption. If Gotham is so deeply ingrained with secrets, how can they truly reform it? Gordon's loyalty to Bruce is unwavering, but as the truth comes to light, he too must grapple with the role Gotham's elite have played in creating the system they both seek to dismantle. Bruce, unable to find answers within himself or from those closest to him, turns to Gotham itself. The city, now more than ever, feels like a living, breathing entity. He realizes that Gotham's very survival is tied to its past, to the secrets that have been buried beneath its streets for centuries. The corruption that has plagued the city is not just the work of its criminals, but the product of a dynasty that shaped it, that controlled it. Bruce's mission as Batman was never just about justice for the innocent. It was about exposing the darkness his family helped cultivate. Now, as Bruce confronts his family's dark legacy, he must decide what role he will play in Gotham's future. Will he continue his war against crime, now knowing that his own bloodline was responsible for much of the city's suffering? Or will he destroy the very foundation that has held Gotham together for so long? The legacy of the Wayne family is irrevocably tied to Gotham's fate, and Bruce's choices will determine if Gotham will rise from the ashes of its past or remain trapped in a cycle of power and corruption. Bruce's journey is no longer just a physical battle against Gotham's criminals. It is a battle for his soul, a fight to redefine who he is and what Gotham can become. Can he shed the weight of his family's past and forge a new path for the city? Or will the shadows of the Wayne dynasty continue to haunt him, forcing him into a destiny he never chose? As Bruce Wayne continues to confront the overwhelming truth about his family's dark legacy, the battle within him intensifies. His mission as Batman, once driven by the pursuit of justice and the avenging of his parents' deaths, begins to shift. Gotham, the city he has sworn to protect, becomes a mirror of his own internal turmoil. As Bruce uncovers more about the Wayne family's hidden influence over Gotham's past, he must wrestle with the realization that his own quest for justice is intertwined with the very legacy of control and manipulation that he seeks to dismantle. The city, with its endless cycle of power and corruption, seems to reflect the struggle within his soul. Can he break free from the weight of his family's past, or is he doomed to repeat it? Every corner of Gotham now seems like a reminder of the Wayne family's silent grip on the city. The architecture, the institutions, The very systems of law and order all have ties to Bruce's ancestors. Even the criminals he fights, those who operate in the shadows of Gotham's streets, are merely extensions of the system his family helped build. The more Bruce learns, the more he realizes that the divide between Gotham's elite and its underworld is not as clear-cut as he once thought. His family, in their quest to maintain control, created a system where crime and corruption were not anomalies, but integral parts of the city's foundation. And now, Bruce, as the heir to this legacy, must face the uncomfortable truth. He is not just a defender of Gotham, but a product of its very power structures. The Batcave, once a symbol of his fight for justice, becomes a prison for Bruce's thoughts. What was once a sanctuary, a place where he honed his skills and prepared for his nightly crusade, is now a repository of his family's secrets. As he delves deeper into its hidden chambers, Bruce begins to uncover relics and records that hint at the true nature of his family's involvement in Gotham's history. The cave, with its vast collection of information, becomes a reflection of the very legacy he is trying to escape. It holds the answers to questions Bruce never thought to ask, and the more he learns, the more his mission as Batman feels like an extension of the system he despises. Bruce begins to wonder if his entire life, his transformation into Batman, his relentless pursuit of justice, was all part of a design he never understood. Was he always meant to inherit this role, to carry on the mantle of his ancestors, or was his war against crime and corruption merely a futile attempt to escape a destiny he cannot escape? The more Bruce uncovers, the more he begins to question whether he can ever truly break free from the legacy of the Wayne family, or whether he is doomed to follow the same path of power and control that has defined Gotham for centuries. In the midst of his internal struggle, Bruce finds himself at a crossroads. He must decide what role he will play in Gotham's future. Will he continue his fight as Batman, using the resources and power he inherited to restore order to the city? Or will he forsake his family's legacy and seek a new path, one where Gotham is not ruled by power and influence, but by justice, equality, and freedom? This is the ultimate dilemma: to embrace the power he is heir to, or to destroy it, and risk losing everything he has fought for. As Bruce grapples with these questions, his relationships with those closest to him become strained. Alfred, his loyal butler and father figure, has always been a steadying presence in Bruce's life, offering wisdom and guidance. But even Alfred cannot escape the weight of Bruce's family's legacy, as the truth about the Waynes' involvement in Gotham's power struggles comes to light. Alfred must reconcile his loyalty to Bruce with his own understanding of the family's role in Gotham's history. Alfred, who has long been a keeper of secrets, may know more than he has ever revealed. As Bruce digs deeper, he must confront the possibility that even Alfred has been complicit in keeping the truth from him. Their bond, once unshakable, now feels fragile as Bruce wonders if the man he trusted most was also part of the web of deception that has shaped his life. Jim Gordon, Gotham's steadfast commissioner, finds himself torn between his loyalty to Batman and his growing realization that the city's problems go much deeper than he ever imagined. For years, Gordon has trusted Bruce Wayne and supported his mission as Batman, believing him to be a force for good in a city plagued by crime. But as the truth about the Wayne family's legacy comes to light, Gordon must question everything he thought he knew about the city he has sworn to protect. Can Gotham ever be saved if its very foundation was built on corruption and manipulation? Gordon, like Bruce, must decide whether to continue fighting for a city that seems beyond redemption, or whether to accept the truth that Gotham's darkness runs deeper than they ever thought. And then there is Gotham itself. the city that Bruce has sworn to protect, but which now feels like a mirror of his own struggles. Gotham, a city of contradictions, has always been a place where the lines between good and evil are blurred. It is a city that thrives on power, corruption, and manipulation, but it is also a city that holds the potential for change. The question Bruce must face is whether he can truly change Gotham, or whether the city will always be bound by the same dark forces that have shaped its history. Can Gotham's future be separated from its past, or is it forever doomed to repeat the same cycles of power and corruption? Bruce's internal journey becomes a battle not just for Gotham's future, but for his own soul. The choices he makes will determine not only the fate of the city, but his own place in its story. Will he remain Batman, the dark figure who fights for justice, but who may unknowingly perpetuate the system he despises? Or will he break free from his family's legacy, choosing to rewrite Gotham's history and forge a new future, one where power is no longer the defining force, but where justice, truth, and freedom reign? As the struggle within Bruce intensifies, Gotham's future becomes more uncertain. The city is at a crossroads, caught between the weight of its past and the possibility of a new future. The question remains, will Gotham rise from the ashes of its past, or will it remain trapped in the shadows of the Wayne dynasty, bound by the legacy of power and control? And ultimately, will Bruce Wayne, the man who has fought so long for Gotham's salvation, be the one to break the cycle, or will he too fall victim to the same forces that have shaped his family and his city? As Bruce Wayne stands on the precipice of this monumental choice, Gotham itself is teetering between a potential rebirth and the looming shadow of its past. The truth Bruce has uncovered, that his family, the very dynasty he thought he was rebelling against, played a central role in shaping the city's structure, has shattered the foundation of his mission. Gotham, for all its progress, continues to be trapped in cycles of corruption, manipulation, and dark power. And Bruce, now fully aware that his family was both the creator and the protector of this legacy, must decide: does he become the embodiment of the Wayne dynasty, continuing the work his family began? Or does he break free, casting aside the chains that bind him to the past and seeking to reshape Gotham's future? The weight of his choices bears heavily on him. Every action he has taken, every criminal he has stopped, every decision he has made in the Batcave has been a step in a dance he never fully understood. His role as Batman, while noble in its pursuit of justice, now seems to him like a piece of a much larger puzzle, a puzzle that has been in place long before his parents' murder and in some way was meant to be his. His family's legacy is not just tied to Gotham's past, but to its very fabric. It is a legacy of control and power, a hidden dynasty that has shaped the city's fate in ways that have only now become apparent. In his quest for justice, Batman may have been unknowingly protecting the very system he has fought against. How can he continue his crusade when the very foundation of his actions is rooted in a past that is tainted by manipulation and secrecy? Bruce now understands that Gotham's problems are not just the result of criminal masterminds, corrupt politicians, or shady business deals. Gotham's true problem is its foundation, the very system that holds the city together. His family's hidden influence over Gotham, once so carefully shielded from the public eye, has always been the silent hand behind the city's corruption. If Bruce accepts his family's legacy, he could take control of Gotham, use the vast resources at his disposal, and perhaps reshape the city in a way that aligns with his vision of justice. But to do so would mean becoming what he has fought so hard against, the very dynasty that upheld Gotham's darkest aspects. The irony is inescapable. In accepting the power that comes with his heritage, Bruce might become the very thing he despises. Yet, if Bruce chooses to reject his family's legacy, the consequences are equally profound. Rejecting the power of the Waynes could mean stripping himself of the resources that make him Batman. His wealth, the Batcave, his influence, all would be at risk, and Gotham, without its most powerful defender, could descend into anarchy. The city's corruption is deeply ingrained. Removing Bruce from the equation could open the door to new players who would wield the power his family once controlled, but for their own selfish desires. Bruce's refusal to take up his family's mantle would not end Gotham's problems. It would likely make them worse. And in the absence of his leadership, the city could very well fall into the hands of the corrupt forces that have always lurked in its shadows. Bruce's decision is not only about Gotham's future, it is about his own sense of identity. For years, he has been Batman because he believed he had a mission to cleanse the city of its corruption. But now, the truth is clear. His family helped create that corruption, and he is bound to it by blood. If he rejects his heritage, he is rejecting not just his family's power, but his own place in Gotham's history. If he accepts it, he risks becoming the very thing he has fought against. Can Bruce reconcile his desire for justice with his need to break free from his family's influence, or will he ultimately choose the path of power, using his family's legacy to shape Gotham in his own image? The weight of this choice presses on Bruce as he continues his work as Batman. Every criminal he confronts, every corrupt official he exposes, seems to echo the larger question: is he truly fighting for Gotham's salvation, or is he just perpetuating a cycle of power that will never be broken? Can a city so deeply rooted in corruption ever be saved by someone whose family helped build that corruption? Bruce's war on crime has always been a personal one, but now it has become a battle for his very soul. The man he has become is shaped not just by his parents' death, but by the legacy of his family. Can he break free from the shadows they cast, or is he forever destined to be a part of their darkness? The Batcave, once a symbol of hope and refuge, becomes a battleground for Bruce's thoughts. The technology, the plans, the archives, all hold pieces of his family's legacy. As he continues to investigate, he uncovers even more damning truths. His ancestors were not just philanthropists or public figures. They were the architects of a system that used fear, power, and influence to control Gotham's future. The more Bruce uncovers, the more he realizes that the city's problems are not just external, they are internal, tied to the very heart of the Wayne family. The Batcave becomes a metaphor for his journey, a place of refuge, but also a prison that keeps him bound to a legacy he never asked for. As Bruce contemplates his next move, the people of Gotham continue to suffer. The city, despite his best efforts, remains a place of chaos where corruption thrives and the rich and powerful pull the strings. For all his heroism, for all his sacrifices, Gotham has not changed, and Bruce wonders if it ever can. The choices before him are clear, but the consequences of those choices are anything but. In the end, he must ask himself, is he the hero Gotham needs, or is he simply a product of its darkest past? Bruce Wayne is caught in a paradox. The man who fought to save Gotham now finds himself questioning whether the city can ever truly be saved. The more he uncovers about his family's legacy, the more he realizes that Gotham's fate is not in his hands alone. The question of whether Gotham can be redeemed depends on the choices Bruce makes, not just as Batman but as the heir to the Wayne legacy. Can Gotham rise from the ashes of its past, or will it forever remain shackled by the chains of power, corruption, and control that have defined its history? In this pivotal moment, Bruce must confront the ultimate question: can Gotham be saved, or is it beyond redemption? And more importantly, can he ever escape the shadow of his family's legacy, or will he be forced to accept his place in the very system he spent his life trying to destroy? As Bruce Wayne's internal struggle reaches its zenith, the very foundation of Gotham's future is poised to shift under the weight of his choices. The city, ever teetering on the edge of chaos and order, looks to its silent guardian to determine its fate. Batman, whose very existence has been bound to Gotham's darkest corners, must now decide whether he will continue his crusade to cleanse the city, or accept the uncomfortable truth that his family's involvement in its corruption may be the very thing that holds Gotham together. In this critical moment, Bruce realizes that his battle for Gotham's future is not just about fighting its criminals or corrupt officials. It is about confronting the city's inherent flaws and deciding whether he will be the one to fix them, or whether he will tear down the system entirely, even if it means destroying everything he has fought for. The weight of his family's legacy, tied to the very fabric of Gotham, seems inescapable. It is not just the criminals on the streets who must be dealt with. It is the institution itself, the silent hand that has long shaped the city's fate, that must be addressed. Bruce Wayne's fight ultimately is one for identity. He was born into a legacy of control and influence, one that has defined Gotham since its very creation. The truth that is unraveled before him, that his family, the Waynes, were not merely wealthy philanthropists, but key figures in maintaining the power structures that upheld Gotham's status quo, forces him to face a painful question: can he fight for Gotham's freedom while simultaneously carrying the weight of a legacy tied to its oppression? His war has always been one against crime, but now it feels as if that battle is secondary to a more fundamental conflict, one for the very soul of the city. As Bruce digs deeper into his family's history, a sense of inevitability sets in. If he embraces his family's legacy, he may have the power to rebuild Gotham, but in doing so, he risks becoming the very thing he once fought against. The systems of control, manipulation, and hidden power that he has spent his entire career fighting could be his to wield. Could he, the son of Thomas Wayne, rise to the mantle as the new ruler of Gotham's shadowy underworld, the very force that he has spent decades attempting to destroy? Or would such a path lead to a new era of power and control that would be just as oppressive and corrupt as the one his ancestors helped build? On the other hand, if Bruce chooses to reject his family's legacy, to forsake the mantle of the Waynes entirely, the consequences are equally dire. Without the resources of the Wayne family, without the vast influence that has always been his birthright, Bruce risks losing his ability to protect Gotham. The city could fall into even greater disarray, with criminal factions, corrupt politicians, and the remnants of the old power structures vying for control. Gotham without Batman could spiral into chaos, and Bruce, despite his best efforts, could become just another casualty of the very system he fought to protect. The struggle comes to a head as Bruce stands before the Batcave, surrounded by the very symbols of his family's legacy. His parents' journals, his father's plans for Gotham, the old maps and documents, all of it points to the same conclusion. Gotham's fate has always been shaped by a hidden hand, a hand that Bruce has inherited. The Batcave, once a symbol of justice, now feels like a tomb, a mausoleum for the secrets of his family's past. It is here, in the silence of the cave, that Bruce must make his choice. Alfred, ever the loyal butler, watches quietly from the shadows, sensing the turmoil within Bruce. As a man who has served the Wayne family for decades, Alfred understands the weight of the decision that Bruce must make. Yet, even he, who knows more of the Wayne family's secrets than anyone, cannot offer Bruce the answers he seeks. Alfred can only provide support, his loyalty unwavering. But the choice is Bruce's, and Bruce's alone. Bruce's relationship with Jim Gordon, his closest ally in Gotham's fight for justice, becomes strained as well. Gordon, who has stood beside Batman for years, begins to realize that the very corruption he has fought against may have deeper roots than he ever imagined. As the truth about the Wayne family's role in Gotham's history comes to light, Gordon is forced to confront his own beliefs about the city he has sworn to protect. Can Gotham ever truly be saved? Or is it too deeply entrenched in a system that no one, not even Batman, can escape? As the pieces of the puzzle fall into place, Bruce faces a crucial decision. He can continue his mission as Batman, using his family's resources and influence to create a new order in Gotham, one where he holds the reins of power. Or he can dismantle the entire structure, rejecting the legacy that has defined both his life and the city's fate. His choice is not just about what kind of man he will be, it is about what kind of future Gotham will have. Bruce's decision, in the end, comes down to one question: can Gotham ever truly be free? Free from the shackles of its past, free from the families and the systems that have held it in a vice for centuries. The very idea of freedom for Gotham is complicated. Can a city born from corruption and control ever escape its own legacy? If Bruce Wayne, the heir to the Wayne family, is to be Gotham's savior, he must first decide if Gotham's salvation lies in rebuilding the system from within, or if it requires destroying everything his family built and starting anew. With his family's legacy weighing heavily on his shoulders, Bruce steps into the unknown. The bat symbol, which once stood as a beacon of hope, now feels like a symbol of his family's legacy. But in his heart, Bruce knows one thing: Gotham's future is in his hands, and the choice he makes will define not just his own identity, but the very soul of the city. As he stands on the edge of this momentous decision, the future of Gotham hangs in the balance. Will Bruce Wayne become Gotham's ruler, using the power of his bloodline to restore order? Or will he reject his legacy entirely, sacrificing everything to free Gotham from the darkness that has defined it for so long? Only time will tell. As Bruce Wayne stands at the crossroads of his decision, the air in the Batcave feels heavier than ever before. Gotham, the city that has shaped him, that he has shaped in return, now seems like an impossible puzzle, its cracks widening with each new revelation, its future uncertain. The choices before him are not just choices about Gotham's fate, but about his own identity. The truth about his family's legacy, about their role in the creation of Gotham's power structures, has revealed something darker than he could have ever imagined. What if his fight was never truly about justice, but about a system built by his ancestors, a system he had unwittingly kept alive through his crusade as Batman? The weight of the Wayne family's legacy is undeniable. The very name Wayne carries with it the shadow of centuries-old power, wealth, and control. Bruce realizes that as much as he has fought against the criminals, the corrupt officials, and the shadowy figures that lurk in the city's underbelly, he may have been playing into a system designed by his own family to maintain order, a system that may not be as corrupt on the surface as it appears, but is equally insidious beneath. The decision Bruce faces is one of monumental importance, not just for him but for Gotham itself. Can he truly escape the legacy that binds him to Gotham? Can he break free from his family's past and shape the city's future? Or does he embrace the power that comes with his inheritance and use it to reshape Gotham into a city he believes can finally be free of corruption? As he contemplates the choices before him, Bruce knows that his next steps will define not just the future of Gotham, but his own identity. He is no longer just a man in a bat costume, fighting crime in the streets of Gotham. He is Bruce Wayne, heir to a legacy that has shaped the city, for better or for worse. He could become the ruler of Gotham's hidden dynasty, the one to finally take control of the power his family once held and use it for what he believes is good. Or he could reject it entirely, burn it all down and build something new, a Gotham that has never been tainted by the influence of the Waynes or any other hidden dynasty. In his isolation, Bruce begins to realize the true nature of his mission. It was never just about fighting criminals, nor was it just about avenging his parents. His war has always been against the system itself, the very system his family helped build. And now, he must decide whether to tear it down entirely, risking the chaos that would follow, or whether he can find a way to work within it, using his family's resources and influence to reform it from the inside. Both options come with devastating consequences. To reject his family's legacy would mean sacrificing everything he has worked for as Batman. To embrace it would mean becoming part of the very darkness he has fought so hard to eradicate. As Bruce stands before the Batcave's many symbols, the trophies, the technology, the maps of Gotham, he realizes that the answers are not in the gadgets or the gadgets of the Bat. They are in his choices. The Bat symbol, once his personal beacon of hope for Gotham, now feels like a shackle. It is a reminder of the cycle he is caught in, a cycle of power, influence, and control. Bruce's fight against Gotham's crime is only a small part of the equation. The greater battle is one of power, who holds it, who controls it, and whether that power can be broken or remade. His family's legacy, a deep-rooted force in Gotham, has been hidden in plain sight for years. Now, Bruce must confront the truth. Can Gotham ever escape its past, or will it always be shackled by the influence of the Waynes and others who came before him? In this moment of reflection, Bruce considers his relationships with those closest to him. Alfred, who has always been a guiding light in Bruce's life, now becomes a pivotal figure. Alfred has always known more about Bruce's family than he has ever let on. Has Alfred been complicit in keeping Bruce from the truth, or has he been guiding him? Knowing that Bruce's legacy would one day come to light, Alfred's role is one of loyalty and wisdom, but he too has been a part of the Wayne family's past. Can Bruce truly trust Alfred to help him navigate the path ahead, or is he simply another piece of the puzzle Bruce must dismantle? Jim Gordon, the ever-loyal commissioner, stands in a similar position. For years, Gordon has fought alongside Batman, believing in the crusader for justice he has come to know. But as the truth about Gotham's history comes to light, Gordon is faced with the uncomfortable reality that the battle against corruption is not just one of fighting criminals, but of confronting the very foundation of Gotham itself. Can Gotham ever be reformed, or will it always fall back into the clutches of the elite that helped create it? Gordon's loyalty to Bruce is unwavering, but even he must question whether Gotham can ever truly be saved. Bruce, torn between the legacy he inherited and the future he wants for Gotham, begins to realize that the answer may lie not in embracing or rejecting his family's past, but in finding a way to use his family's resources to break the cycle of corruption. Gotham needs a leader, someone who understands its history and its complexities, but also someone who is willing to tear down the old systems and rebuild. But can Bruce, the last heir to the Wayne dynasty, ever truly break free from the darkness that his family created? Or will he be trapped by the very legacy he seeks to destroy? As Bruce stands at this crossroads, he knows that his next decision will shape not just the future of Gotham, but his own future. Gotham, with all its complexities and contradictions, will either rise or fall based on his choice. The city has always been defined by the shadows, by the power structures that have long controlled it. Now, it is up to Bruce to decide whether he will continue to fight the darkness, or whether he will finally embrace the light and the responsibility that comes with his true heritage. The ultimate question now is whether Bruce Wayne can ever escape the shadow of his family's legacy, or whether he will embrace it, using his power to either preserve Gotham's future or to break free from its past. As Bruce Wayne stands on the brink of making his defining decision, Gotham's future hangs in the balance. The city has always been a place of contradictions, a place where the line between good and evil is often blurred, and where the forces of corruption have run deep for generations. Now the question is not just whether Gotham can survive, but whether Bruce, as the heir to a long-lost dynasty, can ever truly escape the weight of his family's legacy, or if he will succumb to it. Bruce's journey has always been about more than just fighting criminals or seeking vengeance for the death of his parents. It has been a quest for meaning, for justice, and for understanding his place in a city that has shaped him and that he has shaped in return. But now, as the truth about his family's involvement in Gotham's dark past comes to light, Bruce finds himself at a crossroads. He has spent his entire life fighting against corruption, against the forces that have plagued Gotham, but now he is confronted with the terrifying realization that his own bloodline played a key role in creating that corruption. The more Bruce uncovers, the more he begins to see that Gotham's fate is inextricably linked to his family's hidden history. The Wayne family, once revered for their wealth and philanthropy, were not just innocent bystanders to Gotham's power struggles. They were central figures in the city's foundation, silently shaping its destiny through influence, manipulation, and control. The Batcave, which he once saw as a place of refuge and strategy, now feels like a tomb, a reminder of the family's complicity in the very system he has fought to dismantle. It was never just about fighting crime. It was about preserving a system of control, one that Bruce, knowingly or unknowingly, has been part of. The question that now plagues Bruce is whether he can continue to fight for Gotham's future when the city's problems are tied to his own family's past. Is it possible for Gotham to be truly free if it was built on the very foundation of corruption and power that his ancestors established? And if Bruce continues his fight as Batman, does that make him an agent of change or a pawn in a system that has always been in place? The emotional toll of this realization is immense. Bruce's identity has always been tied to his mission as Batman, to his crusade for justice, and to the idea that he was fighting for Gotham's redemption. But now, as the truth about his family's role in the city's history becomes undeniable, Bruce is forced to confront the possibility that he is not just a hero but a product of Gotham's most deeply rooted structures. His fight against crime, his relentless pursuit of justice, could be part of a legacy of control, one that was passed down to him through his bloodline. Alfred, the one person who has always been there for Bruce, now becomes a figure of complexity. Alfred, who has watched Bruce struggle with the weight of his family's legacy, has always known more than he has let on. As Bruce unravels the secrets of the Wayne family, he must confront Alfred's role in the story. Has Alfred been complicit in keeping Bruce in the dark, or has he been quietly guiding Bruce toward this moment, knowing that Bruce's legacy would one day come to light? The bond between Alfred and Bruce is tested like never before, and Alfred's unwavering loyalty is challenged by the truth about the family he has served for so long. Meanwhile, Jim Gordon, Gotham's commissioner, begins to realize that the battle for Gotham's soul is far more complicated than he ever imagined. He has always stood by Batman, believing in the hero who fights for justice. But as the truth about Gotham's past and about the Wayne family's role in shaping that past comes to light, Gordon must confront the possibility that the very system he has trusted is built on corruption. Can Gotham be saved if its most powerful family helped create the darkness that now defines it? Gordon, too, must grapple with the question of whether Gotham can ever truly be reformed or whether it is doomed to remain trapped in a cycle of power and control. Bruce's journey now becomes one of self-discovery, a quest not just to save Gotham, but to understand who he truly is. His mission as Batman was never just about defeating criminals or avenging his parents. It was about becoming something greater than the darkness that shaped him. But now, the darkness that has haunted him for so long feels inescapable. It is not just the criminals he fights in the streets of Gotham, but the very legacy of his family, the silent hand that has shaped the city's fate. As Bruce contemplates his next move, he realizes that the decision before him is not just about continuing his fight as Batman or abandoning his family's legacy. It is about deciding whether Gotham can ever be truly free or whether it is always going to be trapped in the cycle of power and corruption that has defined it for centuries. The city is more than just a battleground for good and evil. It is a place where the struggle for control is woven into its very fabric. And Bruce, as the last heir to the Wayne family, holds the key to that struggle. The weight of Gotham's future rests on Bruce's shoulders. If he chooses to embrace his family's legacy, he could become the ruler of Gotham, using the vast resources and influence he inherited to reshape the city's destiny. But to do so would mean becoming the very thing he has fought against. If he chooses to reject his family's legacy, he risks losing everything he has worked for, including the tools and resources that make him Batman. Gotham could fall into chaos, and the city's dark forces, once held at bay by the Wayne family, could rise again, this time unchecked. The decision is agonizing, but it is one Bruce must make as he stands at the edge of this moment. He realizes that the question is not whether Gotham can be saved, but whether he is the one to save it. Can he break free from the shadow of his family's past, or will he remain trapped in the same cycle of power and control that has shaped the city for so long? Bruce's choice, whether he embraces or rejects his family's legacy, will determine Gotham's future. If he chooses the path of power and control, he risks becoming part of the very darkness he has fought to destroy. If he chooses to break free, he must be willing to sacrifice everything: his family, his mission, and the city he has sworn to protect. Gotham's fate is tied to Bruce's decision, and the consequences of that decision will reverberate throughout the city for generations to come. As Bruce Wayne finally makes his decision, the ramifications of his choice reverberate throughout the city of Gotham, and his transformation from Batman to whatever he chooses next begins. No longer is Gotham a city simply defined by its criminality and corruption. It now stands at a crossroads, with its fate tied not only to the forces of power that have long controlled it, but also to Bruce's personal evolution. The weight of generations, of family, legacy, and responsibility now rests on his shoulders as Gotham's protector or its ruler, depending on how he interprets his path forward. For years, Bruce has been a figure defined by duality. On one hand, the orphaned son of Thomas and Martha Wayne, striving to avenge their deaths and rid Gotham of crime. On the other, a symbol of control stemming from the very family that helped shape Gotham's underlying corruption. The deeper he delves into his family's history, the more he realizes that his entire existence has been caught in a cycle of control, power, and influence that has both protected and poisoned Gotham. His struggle is not just for Gotham's soul, but for his own place within the city, and now he must choose which path he will take. With a knowledge of his family's dark legacy, Bruce's decision to embrace or reject that legacy is not a simple matter of choosing between two extremes. The complexities of Gotham's past weigh heavily on him. If he chooses to take control, he can use his inherited wealth, influence, and power to reshape Gotham's corrupt structures from within, turning it into a city that could finally rise above its dark past. He could become the new patriarch of Gotham's ruling elite, not a figure of corruption, but a guiding force capable of steering the city toward a more just and transparent future. But doing so means embracing the power that has long been wielded by his family and in turn becoming a part of the very system he has fought against for so long. On the other hand, if Bruce chooses to reject his family's legacy, he risks undoing everything he has built as Batman. The resources that have powered his crusade against crime, the Batcave, Wayne Enterprises, his wealth, and the tools of his fight, all stem from the Wayne family's hidden power. Without them, he would be left vulnerable, perhaps even powerless, in his fight for Gotham's future. Gotham would be left without the resources and leadership that Bruce has provided, and the criminal factions and corrupt institutions that have long ruled the city would be quick to fill the vacuum. It would be a gamble, one that could either lead to Gotham's ultimate freedom or its complete collapse. The choice becomes a reflection of Bruce himself. His decision is not just about Gotham, it is about who he wants to become. Does he want to remain the isolated figure who has fought against the system, continually undermining it without ever considering the possibility of reshaping it? Or does he step into the role he was always meant to play, a leader, a ruler, someone who could change Gotham from the inside, someone who could use his family's power for good? Either way, the burden of his family's legacy will always be present, a shadow that will follow him no matter which path he chooses. The real question, then, is not about whether Gotham can be saved, but whether Bruce can reconcile with the dark history that binds him to it. As the decision looms over him, Bruce understands that no matter what path he chooses, his battle is far from over. Gotham will always be a city of contradictions. No matter how much he strives to cleanse it, there will always be forces working to bring it back into the shadows. The system, whether he chooses to work within it or tear it down, will fight against him. The cycle of power, manipulation, and control has long been embedded in Gotham's very DNA. If Bruce chooses to accept his family's legacy, he may reshape that system, but it will always carry the marks of his ancestors. If he chooses to reject it, he may free Gotham from the chains of its past, but he risks losing the resources needed to guide the city into a new future. The question becomes, can Gotham survive without the influence of the Waynes, or is it doomed to repeat its past no matter what? As Bruce steps into this new chapter of his life, he finds that Gotham's future is no longer just about defeating crime or punishing its perpetrators. It is about facing the reality that Gotham's flaws run deeper than any criminal organization. The city's very existence has been built on the backs of the elite, the families who have held power for generations. And while Bruce's decision may change the course of Gotham's future, it will not change the fact that Gotham, for all its corruption, is a city that has always needed someone to guide it, whether for better or for worse. In his solitude, Bruce contemplates the consequences of his choice. He wonders if his family's legacy, with all its darkness and secrets, is something he can ever escape. Can he truly be free of the past, or will it always haunt him? A reminder that Gotham is a city built on both its greatest hopes and its deepest fears. No matter the outcome, Gotham's future, and Bruce's own, will depend on his ability to navigate the thin line between power and justice, control and freedom. The question is no longer just about Gotham's salvation. It is about whether Bruce Wayne, as Batman, can reconcile the duality of his existence, the man he was born to be and the hero he chose to become. His decision, whether to embrace or reject his family's legacy, will decide if Gotham can finally break free from the cycles that have trapped it for so long, or if it will continue to be held captive by the same forces that have defined it for centuries. Bruce stands at the precipice of change, and with it, Gotham's future. The path he chooses will either break the chains that bind him to his family's legacy or cement his place in the very system he has fought so long to destroy. Gotham's fate, and Bruce's own, will be shaped by this single decision. As Bruce Wayne faces the monumental choice before him, the world around him seems to slow. Gotham, a city built on a foundation of contradictions, stands at the precipice of change, a change that Bruce alone holds the power to direct. The weight of his decision to embrace or reject his family's legacy does not rest only on his shoulders. It will ripple through every aspect of the city, from the highest towers of Wayne Enterprises to the forgotten corners of Gotham's streets. Bruce has spent so many years fighting for Gotham's soul, but now, as he stands before the Batcave, the symbol of his dual identity, he must face a deeper truth. Gotham's soul is inextricably tied to his own. In the silence of the cave, with the hum of technology and the dark shadows of his family's history surrounding him, Bruce realizes that the answer to Gotham's future lies not in the past, but in the courage to forge a new path. The question is not whether Gotham can survive without the power of the Wayne family, but whether Bruce can take that first step, a step that could change everything for Gotham and for himself. Bruce's internal conflict reaches its breaking point as he reflects on all the people who have shaped his journey. Alfred, who has always stood by his side, silently bearing the weight of the family's secrets. Jim Gordon, who has fought alongside him in the trenches, believing in the Batman as a force for good, even if the truth about Gotham's power structures has always been hidden from him. And Gotham's citizens, whose fates are inextricably tied to the decisions Bruce makes. If he embraces his family's legacy, if he takes the mantle of power that has always been his birthright, he could reshape the system from within. He could restore order to Gotham, using the immense wealth and influence that the Wayne family has amassed over generations. But to do so would mean becoming part of the very system he has dedicated his life to fighting against. It would mean perpetuating the cycle of control, manipulation, and secrecy that has defined Gotham for centuries. Bruce's desire to protect Gotham, to save it from the criminal underworld and the corrupt elite, has always been his driving force. But now, he must ask himself if his role as Batman is truly about saving Gotham, or if it is a role that was designed for him. A role dictated by a family legacy he never fully understood. As he stands in the Batcave, surrounded by the remnants of his ancestors' power, Bruce knows that his war against crime has always been a battle for more than just justice. It has been a battle for Gotham's very soul, a battle that will either redefine the city or continue the endless cycle of control and corruption. The truth Bruce uncovers forces him to reconsider everything he has fought for. The crime syndicates, the corrupt politicians, The business magnates who operate in Gotham's shadows, they are not the true enemy. They are merely products of the system that has been built over generations, a system his family helped create. Bruce now understands that his fight for Gotham's justice cannot be won by simply battling its criminals. It must be won by dismantling the system itself, a system that has been in place long before he was born. But dismantling the system would come at a great cost. The Batcave, the tools, and the resources that have enabled Bruce to be Batman, they are all part of the legacy that ties him to the very power structure he seeks to destroy. Without them, without the resources of the Wayne family, Bruce is left with nothing. Gotham's criminal underworld is too vast, too entrenched, for a single man to take on without the support of the very power that has long protected it. In the end, Bruce understands that his battle is not just for Gotham, but for himself. If he rejects his family's legacy, he must be willing to give up everything he has known. The Wayne name, with all its power and wealth, has been his crutch, the means by which he has fought for Gotham's future. But if he chooses to continue his fight, he will do so with the knowledge that he is perpetuating the very system that Gotham has always suffered under. The city's salvation, Bruce realizes, is not in embracing the power of the Waynes, but in rejecting it, in rejecting the notion that Gotham can only be saved through control, manipulation, and wealth. And so, Bruce makes his choice. He chooses to break the cycle, to reject the legacy of his family, and to fight for Gotham in a way that is entirely his own. He will no longer be bound by the expectations of the Wayne name or the family's hidden history. Gotham will no longer be a city ruled by secrets, power, and influence. It will be a city where the people have a voice, where justice is not defined by wealth or status, but by the actions of those who fight for it. Bruce steps out of the Batcave, not as the heir to the Wayne dynasty, but as Gotham's protector, free from the shadows of his family's past. The bat symbol, once a symbol of his family's hidden power, is now a symbol of his own commitment to change. The fight for Gotham's future is no longer a battle fought in the shadows, but one that will be fought in the open, with the people of Gotham standing alongside him. The consequences of Bruce's decision are not immediately clear. Gotham's path forward will not be easy, and there will be those who resist the changes he seeks to bring. The criminal elite, the power brokers, and the remnants of Gotham's old systems will not easily relinquish control. But for the first time, Gotham has a chance to rise above its dark past and create a future where justice is not just an ideal, but a reality. As Bruce looks out over the city he has sworn to protect, he knows that the road ahead will be difficult. But it is a road he must walk, not just for Gotham, but for himself. The past is gone, and the future, uncertain as it may be, is in his hands. The battle for Gotham City's soul has only just begun. As Bruce Wayne steps away from the shadows of his family's legacy and commits himself to reshaping Gotham, the city breathes a tentative sigh of relief, as though it too has been released from the weight of its own history. But even as Bruce rejects the mantle of control and power that has bound him for so long, the road ahead remains fraught with uncertainty. Gotham, for all its layers of corruption and darkness, is not a city that can easily be reborn. It is a place built on decades of manipulation, fear, and greed, and even the most determined forces for change will struggle against the entrenched systems that govern it. Bruce's decision to break free from the Wayne dynasty's influence means he will no longer rely on his family's vast resources, influence, and shadowy alliances to battle Gotham's ills. The Batcave, with its high-tech weaponry, vast archives, and endless gadgets, becomes a relic of the past. Instead of being Batman the Heir, he is now simply Batman, a vigilante driven by a sense of justice that is untainted by the darkness of his family's past. His mission is no longer to fight crime with the tools of the elite, but to ignite a revolution that redefines what Gotham stands for. He knows that this mission will not be easy, and that Gotham's true enemies are not just the criminals on the streets, but the very system of power and wealth that has kept them there. The first step in Bruce's new fight is to dismantle the very structures that allowed Gotham's elite to thrive in secrecy. Wayne Enterprises, once a powerful institution that upheld Gotham's status quo, is no longer a tool of influence, but a beacon of transparency and accountability. Bruce transfers control of the company to trusted allies, stripping away the corruption that has run through its veins for generations. The decision is not an easy one. Wayne Enterprises has been Bruce's tool, his armor in his fight as Batman. But in shedding the Wayne family's grip on the city, he takes the first concrete step toward freeing Gotham from the very dynasty he once inherited. For Gotham's criminal underworld, the news of Bruce's decision to dismantle the Wayne legacy spreads quickly, though its significance is not immediately understood. Some see this as an opportunity to seize power, to fill the vacuum left by Bruce's departure from Gotham's elite. Figures like Penguin, Black Mask, and Two-Face see this as a potential opening, one where Gotham's power structures are in flux, and they begin to make their moves, shifting allegiances, making deals in the shadows. They understand the instability Bruce's decision creates, and they move swiftly to capitalize on it. However, this time, Bruce has no intention of operating in the shadows as he did before. His decision to reject his family's legacy has not been one of retreat, but of empowerment. For the first time, he is using Gotham's streets as his battleground, not as a lone, isolated figure, but as someone who has begun to connect with the people of the city. He begins working closely with Jim Gordon, leveraging the resources of the Gotham Police Department, not for covert operations, but for open, public campaigns aimed at dismantling the criminal syndicates that have flourished in the shadows for so long. This is not just about Batman fighting crime. It is about the people of Gotham fighting back against the forces that have controlled them for too long. Alfred, though initially concerned by the radical shift in Bruce's approach, becomes a vital part of this new vision. He serves as Bruce's anchor, offering counsel and support, helping Bruce navigate the complexities of his decision to cast aside the Wayne family's wealth and legacy. Alfred has always been Bruce's moral compass, but now, more than ever, his role as a guiding figure is crucial. He assists Bruce not just as a butler, but as a mentor, helping him stay grounded in the face of the monumental task ahead. For Gotham citizens, the initial reactions to Bruce's decision are mixed. Some see his actions as a sign of hope, a signal that Gotham's future can be different, that the cycle of corruption, power, and wealth is not unbreakable. Others, however, are more skeptical. They have lived in the shadow of Gotham's powerful elite for so long that they struggle to imagine a Gotham without them. The fear that Gotham's progress could crumble without the stability that the elite provided looms large. But Bruce understands that the city's real strength lies not in the wealth or the influence of its few, but in the resilience and determination of its people. He begins to rally the city's communities, working with grassroots organizations and local leaders to rebuild the institutions of Gotham in a way that reflects the city's true potential. However, the challenges are immense. The criminal networks, while facing a new kind of resistance, do not simply disappear. They adapt, becoming more elusive, more dangerous. As Bruce fights to free Gotham from the control of its past, he realizes that true change will not come quickly. There will be setbacks, moments of doubt, and times when the city seems to slip back into its old ways. But as he walks the streets of Gotham, no longer hidden in the shadows, but walking alongside the people he has sworn to protect, Bruce knows that his fight has shifted, from fighting a system of power that was built in secrecy to fighting for a future that is built in the open. Jim Gordon, for his part, stands by Bruce, but he knows the battle ahead will not be easy. The political landscape of Gotham is rife with corruption, and as new leaders rise to take the place of the old, there will be moments of hesitation, of uncertainty. But Gordon believes in Bruce's vision for Gotham, a vision not just of a safer city, but a city where justice and equity are not defined by power or wealth, but by the will of the people. Together, they begin working toward a Gotham where crime is not just fought by vigilantes, but by a system of justice that works for everyone. Bruce's choice to dismantle the Wayne legacy and break free from the shadows of his family's past is not just a personal decision, but a public one. He is not merely Batman anymore. He is a symbol of the possibility of change, a beacon of hope for those who have long felt oppressed by the power structures of Gotham. Gotham may have been built on corruption, but Bruce believes it can be rebuilt on a foundation of justice. It will take time, it will take sacrifice, and it will take the collective will of the city's people. But for the first time, Gotham is truly free from the shadows of its past. It is no longer a city ruled by the powerful few, but a city where every citizen has the power to shape its future. Bruce, standing at the center of this transformation, understands that his battle is not over. The work is just beginning. Gotham will always be a city of contradictions, a place where the forces of good and evil will always collide. But for the first time in a long time, Bruce Wayne is not fighting against the dark legacy of his family. He is fighting for Gotham's future, a future where its destiny is no longer determined by the secrets of the past, but by the actions of those who are brave enough to stand in the light. In the aftermath of Bruce Wayne's decision to dismantle the Wayne family's legacy and reshape Gotham from within, the city finds itself at a critical juncture. The battle that was once confined to the streets, fought by vigilantes in the shadows, has now evolved into a much larger, more complex struggle. Gotham's transformation is no longer about individual crusaders fighting against the system, but about a collective effort to rebuild the city from the ground up, to reclaim its future from the grip of corruption, and to establish a new era where justice is defined not by the power of the few, but by the will of the people. Bruce, having publicly rejected the power that has long been his birthright, now finds himself at the forefront of this transformation. No longer simply the masked vigilante, but a leader among Gotham's people, he must navigate the difficult path of change, facing not just the remnants of Gotham's old power structures, but the new challenges that arise as the city begins to evolve. There will be no easy victories, and the process of rebuilding will be slow and painful, but Bruce is no longer fighting alone. The people of Gotham, once passive victims of the city's corruption, are beginning to rise, emboldened by Bruce's actions and inspired by the possibility of real change. Alfred, once Bruce's sole confidant and protector, now plays an even more vital role in the battle for Gotham's soul. No longer just a supportive figure, Alfred becomes an active participant in this new vision for Gotham. He works closely with Bruce, offering guidance, wisdom, and a moral compass as Bruce navigates the complexities of his new role. Their bond, once defined by loyalty and duty, evolves into one of mutual respect and collaboration as both men work together to steer Gotham away from the shadows of its past. Jim Gordon, once a steadfast ally in the fight against Gotham's criminal elements, now finds himself in a position of unprecedented power and responsibility. As Gotham's commissioner, he becomes an integral part of the city's reform efforts, working alongside Bruce to create a more transparent, accountable police force. But Gordon's role is not without its challenges. The police force, long riddled with corruption, must be rebuilt from the inside out, and the old guard of law enforcement is not quick to accept the changes that Bruce and Gordon are advocating for. It's a battle of wills as the old systems of power fight to maintain control, and the new leaders struggle to create a force that truly serves the people. For Gotham's citizens, Bruce's decision to embrace a future beyond his family's legacy becomes a rallying cry for change. The communities that have long been silenced by the overwhelming influence of the elite begin to find their voices. Grassroots organizations, led by those who have been most affected by the city's corruption, begin to rise in strength, demanding better living conditions, access to justice, and a city that works for everyone, not just the privileged few. The streets of Gotham, once defined by fear and violence, now become the battleground for justice, where ordinary people stand shoulder to shoulder with their former protector, working together to ensure that Gotham's future is one where their voices are heard. Yet, despite this new sense of hope, the challenges are immense. The criminal syndicates that have long thrived in Gotham's shadows are not easily defeated. Figures like Penguin, Black Mask, and the Riddler, who once controlled the city's underworld, are now operating more covertly, their power still intact, though their methods have become more subtle. They know that Gotham's transformation threatens their empire, and they are willing to do whatever it takes to maintain their control. But Gotham's citizens, empowered by Bruce's leadership, are not so easily intimidated. They are ready to fight back, and the first signs of real change begin to take root. The city's legal system, long corrupted by money and influence, is overhauled. Prosecutors, judges, and defense attorneys, who have been complicit in Gotham's injustice, are ousted, and new leaders, committed to fairness and transparency, begin to take their place. While this shift does not come without resistance, the reforms are swift and necessary. The old structures that have perpetuated the cycles of corruption and impunity are being replaced, piece by piece, with systems designed to serve justice rather than maintain power. As the months pass, Bruce's role as a public figure evolves. No longer just Batman, the lone figure in the night, he becomes a symbol of what Gotham can become if its people are given the chance to lead. The people of Gotham, from the business elite to the struggling working-class communities, begin to rally behind him, not just because of the fear he once instilled in the city's criminals, but because of the hope he represents for a brighter future. Bruce's commitment to Gotham's rebirth is contagious. His willingness to reject the very power that has defined his life inspires others to do the same, to take up the mantle of change, to fight for a Gotham that works for all. But Bruce knows the battle is far from over. Gotham's legacy of corruption runs deep, and while the progress made is undeniable, the road ahead is still fraught with danger. He will face opposition not just from the criminals he once fought, but from those who have long controlled the city's wealth, politics, and power. The forces of status quo will not give up easily. They will attempt to buy, manipulate, and coerce their way back into power. But Bruce, now more determined than ever, understands that this is the true fight, not just against criminals in the streets, but against the very systems of power that have perpetuated Gotham's suffering. As Bruce looks out over Gotham from the rooftop of Wayne Tower, he sees a city on the brink of transformation. The streets are still dark, the challenges still immense, but there is something different now. The people of Gotham are no longer passive bystanders. They are taking control of their future. And with Bruce leading the way, they are beginning to write a new chapter in the city's story. Gotham is no longer a city defined by fear and corruption. It is a city defined by the people's resolve to reclaim their city and their destiny. Bruce, for the first time in his life, feels the weight of Gotham's future resting not on his shoulders alone, but on the collective strength of its people. The city is not perfect, and it will never be free of its dark history, but it is moving forward. The fight is far from over, but Gotham has hope. And hope, Bruce realizes, is the greatest weapon Gotham has ever had. In the end, Bruce Wayne's decision to reject his family's dark legacy and fight for Gotham's future marks a transformative moment in the city's history. Gotham, long shackled by cycles of corruption, manipulation, and secrecy, begins to take its first steps toward redemption. No longer bound by the weight of his family's past, Bruce finally becomes the leader Gotham needs, not by wielding inherited power, but by standing alongside its people, determined to reshape a city that has been defined by darkness for far too long. The criminal syndicates that once ruled Gotham's underworld now face a united front. The citizens, the police, and those who were once oppressed, all rising together to dismantle the systems that perpetuated their suffering. Bruce no longer fights as an isolated figure in the shadows, but as a symbol of hope, rallying Gotham's people to take control of their city. His decision to turn away from the mantle of power has given the city the courage to rebuild, brick by brick, from the ground up. While the road to true change is long and fraught with challenges, Gotham's future is no longer determined by the elite few who have held its fate in their hands for generations. The people of Gotham, empowered by Bruce's leadership and driven by a shared vision of justice and equality, now hold the key to the city's destiny. Gotham will always be a city of contradictions, a place where light and darkness coexist, but with the courage to confront its past and the resolve to forge a better future, the city begins to rise above its history. Bruce Wayne's journey, from the orphan child who swore vengeance to the man who rejected the weight of his family's legacy, becomes a testament to the power of choice. His fight for Gotham was never just about crime and corruption, but about confronting the deeper forces of control and power that have long defined the city. By choosing to reject that power, Bruce not only redefines his own identity, but also opens the door for Gotham to reclaim its soul. In the end, Gotham's true salvation lies not in the hands of a single man, but in the collective will of its people. Bruce, as Batman, may have fought alone for many years, but his decision to embrace a new future for Gotham proves that the fight for justice is never truly fought in isolation. It is a shared struggle, one that requires everyone to rise above their past and work together to create a better world. Gotham, with all its flaws and contradictions, is finally given the chance to rebuild. The old systems may be hard to break, but the future is now open, a future shaped by hope, by action, and by the determination of Gotham's citizens to make their city a place where justice truly prevails. Bruce Wayne, no longer just the son of Thomas and Martha Wayne, has become a symbol of Gotham's resilience, its potential, and its never-ending fight for a better tomorrow.